In terms of having the feel-good factor in your ride and feeling good about the way you're riding, be that how fast you're going or how smoothly you're going, one of the important physical attributes to really work on is speed control. Speed control isn't just slowing down, it's also when to add the power and how to add the power. Are we going to pedal or are we going to pump? Getting your speed control right really will contribute to a smoother, more fluid ride. Braking hard in sections is not a good idea. We want to do our speed control before the entry point to a section. Most obvious is when we're cornering, which we looked at previously, but worth reviewing again. Going too hot, you're going to be diving on the brakes in the corner. Or as you get to the critical point in the corner, right in the middle of the section, your confidence and commitment are going to start to wane. When they do so, you're going to tighten up on the bike, inevitably probably dab the brakes, but all in all of those factors don't contribute to a nice, smooth and happy feeling as you ride, but one of riding in a state of fear and shock and awe. So having got to know this trail and being familiar with it, in my case by riding it many times, but perhaps if it's your first time down, by looking as far ahead as possible, or walking the trail first if you're in a racing environment, I know that before this corner, the entry point to the corner, we've got a downslope. So if I leave my speed control late, I'm going to be braking hard in the corner. Better to temper my speed before the downslope, accelerate through the entry point, through the section itself, and fast out of the corner. If I leave my braking hard, I'm going to be susceptible to last minute decisions. As I dive on the brakes in the section, my head is likely to drop and I start to ride in the now. By this point, I want to be looking through to the exit point and onto the next section. Keeping that flow going, keeping ahead of the bike and having a nice calm, responsive approach to the ride rather than one that reacts last minute to every performance cue that I pick up on. So that familiarity with the trail and knowing what's ahead and when to do, what to do, is going to lead to a much calmer emotional state. I'm going to stay in emotional control. My decisions are going to be on the basis of reason and planning, not gut instinct and fear. An important factor in enjoying a trail and getting the most out of it and feeling at ease with it is looking at your lines through any given section. But there are things that are there to distract you. We talked about them before, performance cues. If you're following other people's lines, you might just be reacting to the same performance cues they did. Just because everyone's gone a certain direction doesn't mean that they were all right. They could have all been wrong. Looking at this section through here, you can see ahead there's a bit of a hollow. Partly that's a braking bump that's got worse and worse over the years, filled with water. As I ride into this section, it's easy for my eyes to just fixate on that horrible line to the right and not think about a more positive line. So this could be a good section to session a few times. Work different lines, work different speeds of approach, work on where you're going to go next, not where you are now. The angled routes on the left may give you a sense of fear and dread as you approach. That's the anticipation or waiting performance cue building. So you need to think through them and look through them. What's actually worse is probably ending up in that slodge and that stodge at the side. That's going to infringe your ride much more and probably leave you with wet, cold feet. Remembering overall speed isn't necessarily the key to enjoyment. It's about getting the speed right for any given section. In this case, I need enough speed if I'm going to ride up on the left so that I can negate the negative effects of those routes. I don't want to be braking on them and stopping the bike from travelling over them, but I don't want to hit them so fast that I tense up as I go over them and push the bike away from me. I don't want to start fighting the bike, getting over the top and too much aggression involved again. I don't want to be dragging the bike down the trail. I want to be pushing it through sections. What I can do is slowly build up my speed and confidence through success rather than failure, and build on my confidence by getting things right time after time. In doing so, I'm going to stop riding in the conscious and start riding more in the unconscious. I know that I'm going to be successful through this section, so I can focus on what's next. This leaves my mind free for happy thoughts and to enjoy my ride rather than riding in a state of tension and anxiety. It's all very well completing one section, but I need to be ready for the next. Keeping ahead of the bike. Through here, I've negotiated the route successfully, avoided the mud hole on the side and carried some momentum through. But pretty much straight away I'm going to start losing that momentum and it's time to start adding some power. In this case it's through pedalling. If I find myself in a very high gear and I'm straining on the pedals, loads of torque on this soft terrain, I'm likely to spin out. By the same token, if I'm in too low a gear when it comes to pedalling, my feet are going to spin wildly trying to catch the free hub up. As I spin, nothing's actually going to be added in terms of power to the bike. So knowing you're in the right gear early, and maybe selecting your gear before the section so that you're ready to put on the power as you exit is going to help. What will help more in terms of keeping ahead of the bike and keeping that flow going and keeping that happy feeling going is knowing that the bike is going to perform when I put my foot down. If I'm susceptible to gear slips, to the chain rattling around on the cassette or jumping, I'm going to slump out of my core cruising position, my nice neutral, relaxed position, and immediately I'm going to start to tighten up on the bike again.